Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another teaching offered by Treasures for the Heart Ministries. My name is Peg, and tonight I'm going to do a short little teaching on the shofar. And the first and most important thing to know about a shofar is it is not necessarily an instrument to be played to make music. It is an instrument to make a sound unto the Lord. And there's several references in Scripture to a shofar being blown. Shofars are blown at different times. They're blown for the morning and the evening sacrifice at the temple. They were blown for war or war cry or announcement to move out and to go into battle. They are blown at different feasts and festivals. They're blown at weddings. So they're used in a number of different ways. But what is so cool about, I think, about a shofar is each one is uniquely different. And each one makes a different sound, which is interesting too. So I've been told when I borrowed a friend of mine's for this demonstration. I don't have one myself, but I'm told when you go to a Jewish store or whatever, you actually need to go there and try blowing the shofar because some of them you can get a sound out of them and some of them you cannot. And so you may have to try out several different ones before you find the one that is unique to you. Some other interesting things about the shofar is it was designed to scare the enemy. And I've been in a couple different situations where the enemy's presence was very, very strong. And somebody was led to go get their shofar. And there were a number of us involved in this situation. And when the shofar was blown, all of us felt the enemy literally turning and running away. So there is a lot of power in our voice, but there is also power when our voice or our wind blows through the shofar. Some other interesting things before I tell you how they make this. Excuse me. Yesterday I came across some Jewish words for the shofar. And shofar itself means hollow, which means it gets hollowed out so that a sound can come through it. But it also, there's a reference in the Hebrew, apparently, to when the Lord came to the garden and he called out to Adam and Eve and asked where they were. Apparently there's a connection with the word voice and beauty, and so the Lord was speaking. Just like the Lord spoke and things were put into being, he came to the garden looking for Adam and Eve to speak to the humans that he made, and because they were different than after they fell, his voice spoke to them and he had fellowship with them. So the idea is that his voice is like a shofar or a trumpet. Our voice is like a shofar or a trumpet. So that's a new little twist that I had not heard, but probably even more meaning to that. A deeper meaning that I was able or had time to find yesterday. So the process of making this, they would take from an antelope, a ram, a gazelle, anything that was a kosher animal. Kosher animals had to have a forked foot, I believe, and so any kosher animal would use. The most ideal one would be a ram's horn. All right. Now I'm not positive this was from a ram, but I think it was, because a ram's horn, if you pull this all back together, this part would have been attached to the side of the head. Okay? So the first thing that happens, and this is all symbolism for the life of the Christian, is the first thing is we have to be, that which God's going to make us into has to be removed from the flesh. Ooh, yeah. So the horn had to be removed. Then the process was to put these horn down into a vat of boiling water, anywhere from 2 to 5 hours of hot water and pressure, which then would begin to soften this harder surface, okay? And it softens what's inside. So isn't it interesting, the first thing the Lord does is break us away from our flesh, and we're not to be flesh-minded, we are to be led by the Spirit and not the flesh. So he breaks away and he begins to put us under trials. And you know, James talks about trials. We're supposed to be happy we're going through trials because it will build perseverance. And perseverance, when it's done its work, will help us be mature and complete. So I was just teaching on that at our Sunday service this last week, was on James 1, and what is the qualities or characteristics of a mature believer. And James starts off with, we're going to go through trials. But those trials do great things in us on the other side of them. And here, you know, humility and different things and asking for wisdom were all indicators on how to handle those trials. So, great pressure under this vat of boiling water to soften it up. Then they take it out and they begin to unwrap, because this would have been tighter up here, unwrap this. And they take instruments and they begin to dig out all this that's on the inside. Isn't that what the Lord does to us? Over time, we soften. Over time, we go from, like the disciples, you know, the Peter, James, and John, the three that were in his inner circle, were above a bunch of ruffians. And I was studying up on them to do some YouTube teachings on them also. And I mean, God took them from rough, gruff, cussing, man's man, and turned them into John, who's known as the disciple of love. Just kind of flip-flopped him over. And from rough, gruff to love. Peter, full of himself, to Peter, not full of himself. So all that over time softens us. Okay, then it goes back in a vat, working on it again, softening it up, reshaping it, digging out more on the inside. The Lord digs out stuff in here that needs to come out, needs to be healed, needs to be cleansed, whatever. In our process of sanctification, as we're being sanctified as we go, our work is to spend time in the Word and spend time with Him, but He does the work over time. So if you're not growing, it means you're probably not spending enough time with the Lord or praying and talking to Him about issues in your life that need to be changed. Because I need to look at my life and look back, am I different than I was at the beginning of this year? And this is 2017, and we're on November 1st, I guess, of 2017. So am I different today in November than I was 10 months ago at the beginning of the year? And I can say, yes, a lot of things have happened in my life, and God is doing things, and He's changing me and changing me. So my shofar is being shaped, trials, spending time with Him. He's digging out more. So there's a process of going under great pressure, coming out, and being reshaped and cleaned out. Great pressure, being reshaped and cleaned out. So the next process is to find where the sound needs to come from you, out of the instrument. So the next process is they begin to shape this while it's soft, more like a trumpet or an instrument that we think of. And then at the other end, they drill the hole to make the opening. So after this is all cleaned out and hollow, and that process of great pressure and then cleaning out, great pressure, cleaning out, then gets us to the shape that they're wanting it to be in. Then the last part of the process, before it's actually used to make a sound unto the Lord, is it's not usually shining like this. So it has like a crusty part on it, okay? So what happens is they have to start buffeting and getting that crusty part off so that they can then treat this with something that keeps the shine and helps protect it. So that would be scripturally when the Lord puts us in places where we just butt heads with people because He's trying to knock the stuff off the outside of us. He's working on the inside to create an instrument, my person, to make an instrument and a sound unto the Lord. But part of that process is to get iron sharpens iron, and it gets, and I don't know how many jobs I had that I kept thinking, why in the world am I working here, Lord? Only to look back and think, oh, that was part of that refining process in me. Oh, okay, I get it now, Lord. I understand what you were doing. So then you get to this particular shofar. Everyone looks different. Everyone is shaped different. Everyone is different, just like every person on the face of the earth. We're all different. No two of us are the same. Our irises are different. Our fingertips are different. You know, there's things of it for each of us that identify us to be uniquely made. It's kind of like snowflakes. There's not two snowflakes alike, which is amazing. When around here we get a lot of snow, but you know, it's piled up 2 feet deep, and I'm thinking there's not one in the miles that I look out over the farmland. There's not one snowflake like another. So this instrument then becomes what I do, make a sound unto the Lord. So it's not to you know, to make music, it's to blow a sound. Now, the different sounds that came out of this was, there was one long, loud blast. Okay, that was used for a certain time. When they would blow them, there were 3 short blasts, or there could be 9 really 9, and the blast for certain things would equal 100 blasts altogether. Now, whether that was different people doing the blast or the person using the shofar, that one long blowing blast, which means that the person blowing it would blow as long as they could hold their air, and that is the same, it appears, in the Greek when it says the trump shall sound and the dead in Christ will rise, and everyone else who's left will be raptured or caught up. It says in the King James, but we use the word rapture, would be removed from the earth, spiritually, supernaturally, to meet Jesus in the air. So that long, loud, waxing long and loud is one of the specific sounds that they make with the shofar. So when the Lord sounds the trump, I'm thinking it's going to be a shofar. We're really, those who are walking with the Lord and those who are going to be taken out, you're going to hear, literally hear. You're going to see, the word says, and we're going to hear. So more than likely, it's going to be a shofar blast that we will hear that'll wax loud and long. Yeah. They would also blow these for the call to worship, which is something we do in our Sunday services right before worship. The gentleman actually who owns this, he will blow the shofar, and it's really interesting. Sometimes he blows it north, south, east, and west. Other times he blows it straight up. Other times he blows it as long as he has breath. And everyone here during the service can visibly feel things change. Most beliefs are anywhere, you can hear a shofar anywhere from 5 miles to 23 miles away, probably depending on the wind conditions and that kind of thing. But this would be a pretty scary thing to blow. And for you as a person, you've got a voice. You've got a shofar. Your body is a shofar. It's made to make a sound unto the Lord. Not to make music, but to make a sound unto the Lord. Let him do in your life what he needs to do so that you can be a beautiful instrument that he uses to speak his truth, to speak his love. Let him transform you so you make a beautiful sound unto the Lord and glorify his name. Thank you for listening to this quick little teaching on the shofar. Hope you learned something you can apply to your life. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you can reach us on Facebook at Treasures for the Heart Ministries, or you can reach us on email at treasuresfortheheart@gmail.com. Thank you.